Hi, everyone. My name is Allegra,
And my name is John.
and we are here to talk about our journey to Ezra. We're going to read an excerpt from our book that is going to be published as an ebook soon, and that book is Relationships: How to Speak to Relationships. There it is. And at the front of the book, there is an excerpt of the introduction to Ezra and how myself came to channel Ezra at this point.
So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from the book, and when we get to certain spots, Allegra's just going to uh, share more about that, a little bit more about that part of her journey.
Yes,
Okay? So, here we go.
here we
Good
go.
times. We're very excited. Okay.
I'm just going to be sitting here quietly until there's a prompt to say something.
All right. So, it starts. I'm going to be reading this, but it sounds like it's going to be Allegra's voice that we're going to be.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was written, I wrote it from my perspective.
Yeah. My journey with Ezra began before I truly understood who they were. From a very young age, I had the ability to see and sense others, though I never spoke about it to anyone. It was my secret world. Only I knew about it. I kept it hidden from everyone. I had fear of being misunderstood. Alongside this, I communicated constantly with what I now know to be Ezra.
Yes,
At the time, I didn't recognize it as anything extraordinary. It was simply a part of my life. Some might call it having imaginary friends, but for me, it was something much deeper and more real. One of the most profound moments in Ezra's guidance came during my early 20s when I was married to my first husband. It was Christmas Day, and we were enjoying the holiday, and you take it from there.
yes. So this was one of the times in my past where it became apparent to me that more was happening. So it was Christmas Day, and my children, they were young, very, very young actually. And as everyone know, Christmas Day, they wake up really early and they get excited. They want to open their presents. So we did that. And because it was still early, we decided we were going to have a nap, put them down for a nap, and then we would have a nap. So we did that, went upstairs, fell asleep. And I was awakened by a knocking on the door, and I'm like, who's knocking? It's Christmas Day. We weren't expecting anybody. We were actually going to go out, but we weren't expecting anyone to show up. So, I kind of ignored it for a minute or two, but then they got really loud. Went downstairs, and my ex husband came down. I opened the door, and there was a man standing in front of the door. And he's like, but I sort of peeked. I didn't really open the door. And he's like, you guys need to get out of right now. The garage is on fire. And I'm like, what do you mean the garage is on fire? So by that time, my ex husband had come down. He was standing behind me, and we opened the door, and there was black smoke and flames bellowing out of the garage. And it was like panic, chaos, it just broke out. So I ran back upstairs because I was the faster out of the two, grabbed the kids, brought them downstairs, handing them over to this stranger. Don't know this guy, by the way. My husband, he got his shoes and stuff on, and I realized I didn't have my shoes on. So I went back into the house to get my shoes. Not a bright thing. Came out, and by this point, this man was across the street at the neighbor's house with the kids. And my husband was standing in front of the garage, and of course, you guys can tell he was distraught if something like that is happening, right? So he's instructing the guys, instructing the neighbor to call 911 because we can't go back in to call 911. And we lived in a court, in a townhouse. So it was like a crescent sort of thing. So one way in, one way out. So fire trucks come in blazing. We had two or three, I believe it was, because they considered it to be a certain code alarm level. Sorry. And so they sent in a lot of trucks. And by this point, the street is all blocked off. So, needless to say, everything's died down. And I go over to the neighbor now, and I said to him, do you know where this guy is, the one that brought the kids over? I want to thank him because in all the chaos we didn't get to. And he said, no. So I'm looking around, and his car is gone. So walked over to the fire truck, and I asked one of the guys on the truck. I said, "Did you guys see a guy about this high, brownish red hair?" and he's driving this old car. Leave. Do you know when he left or anything? And they said, well, no, no one can leave. We're blocking the driveway and we're still hooked up to the hydrant. So no one's allowed in, no one's allowed out. So no one, no one left. So I went back to my ex-husband and he's looking at me and I'm looking at him and it's like, okay, so something here is happening. But he didn't know of Ezra. I knew of Ezra. I know of my entities that were around me at the time and listening and talking to them. And at this point, I just figured, okay, so this must have been a guardian angel because I have no clue who Ezra was at this point. So,
Yeah. So, that was the first encounter. Fast
yes.
forward a number of years. She's now remarried to a wonderful man,
John.
and we have 5 children between us. As our kids grew into teenagers, my connection with Ezra started to show up in ways I couldn't quite explain or escape.
Yeah.
Somehow, I always seemed to know what they were up to, whether it was sneaking out, bending the truth about a situation, or struggling with something they didn't want to share. They
Yeah.
started jokingly calling her a witch.
Yeah.
How do you know these things, Mom? They'd say. Moms always know, of course. It wasn't just Mom's intuition. It was Ezra quietly guiding me.
Now, just to intersect here, John had no idea who Ezra was, never spoke to him about Ezra, and of course the kids didn't know. I never told anybody. This was my little secret from a kid. That was it. When I was growing up, I think I mentioned something like it to my mom at one point, and of course, well, as a kid, anyways, they didn't take me seriously, so I just learned to keep it to myself. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So the kids thought she was a witch. She seemed to just know things. Like it was, she would just suddenly get up. We were sitting on the couch, so one time she just suddenly got up off the couch, went downstairs, opened up a drawer, and my one daughter was hiding a bottle of booze in there. She was going to have a party.
Yeah,
She
she
was
was.
16 years
Yep,
old.
16 years old,
Yeah.
and needless to say, I was called a witch in a very bad way. And to my surprise, honestly, we'll get back to this for a second, but to my surprise, honestly, I didn't know what I was going to find, and when I found it, I actually was taken aback by the fact that we found the booze, but the fact that I was directed to go there, like I didn't go anywhere else in the room. I just zoned in on that dresser and just lifted up the clothes, and there it was, and it's like, okay then.
All right, moving along.
Moving on.
So in her early 40s, she discovered the teachings of Abraham. It's Abraham, Esther, and Jerry Hicks, and
Yes.
Theo, respectively. Their words awakened something inside her, stirring memories of her childhood connection with Ezra.
Yes. So that was another interesting thing. And at this point, um, they were showing up in different ways for me, and I was starting to pay a little bit more attention, but not enough, or hold on a second, not enough for it to make me kind of wonder what, like, is this something I should be pursuing, or if it's something that I should be looking deeper into. But I know that stuff was happening. So basically, again, I was looking at a program on YouTube, and Sheila Gillette came on, and she was channeling Theo. Gaia, that was what it was. I was looking at a little clip from Gaia TV, and Sheila Gillette was on there, and she was speaking to an interviewer, and then they brought Theo forward. And when I saw her, I literally asked myself, is this woman real? Like, she didn't seem real. When I mean real, not is she real like she's doing this. She didn't seem like a real person. To me, I thought she had a halo because her hair was just this color. And, it's this surreal thing. And then she brought Theo forward, and it was like, oh my gosh. So at the end of the interview, or towards the end of the interview, she mentioned Abraham Hicks, channeled by Esther Hicks, and she asked everyone if they had a chance to go and check out her videos on YouTube as to how she started her channeling journey. So now I'm intrigued. So I get over to the computer and I typed in Esther Hicks, and she comes up, and there's her first video. of how this whole channeling thing happened. And I am telling you, when I saw Esther on stage channeling Abraham, it clicked like that. I knew that in here that that's what I was meant to do. With whatever it is that was happening and trying to come forward, I knew it. I'm like, okay, that's where I saw myself clearly standing on the stage. I saw myself clearly interacting with others and giving them guidance, but it wasn't me, Allegra. So fast forward.
So for years, she just listened, but kept conversations quietly in her mind about it with Ezra, all the while asking herself, could I connect with them? Could I truly open that door? Yet she was
Yes.
hesitant, unsure what she might find, and afraid of what it might mean. So let's fast forward a number of years.
Yeah.
We're here in New Brunswick now. Allegra and I are living here in New Brunswick, uh, and she's going to tell you about an unforgettable experience that happened to her.
Yeah. So um, it was in the fall, and I met a friend. I had a store here in New Brunswick in Campbellton, and I had met this customer, became friends, and she lived on a reserve that was close by, and she actually still does boot camps, fitness camps for women. And I decided I was going to join one of her fitness camp in the fall because I wanted to lose a few pounds. You know, as women, we kind of always think we need to lose. So, anyways, I signed up for the boot camp. Boot camp starts. This is a few weeks into the boot camp. One morning, I'm getting up at 5:30, just so you know, to go to this boot camp at 6 o'clock. It's pitch dark outside. But I loved it because I love the stars, and on a full moon, you just get to see everything. And with the bridge driving over the water, it was just magical in the morning. So I loved it. So one morning, I'm driving in, and just as I got to the entrance of the reserve on this particular morning, a little fox runs out in front of me, in front of the car. And he has a Timmy's cup in his mouth. And I thought that was just the funniest thing ever for that time in the morning. I'm like, why are you even here out here running around like this with a cup in your mouth? There isn't a Timmy's anywhere close by. But anyways, I just something about that caught my attention and I loved it. So anyway, I continued driving, and a star or a bright light caught my eye in the sky. It was directly in front of me. And I was like, well, hello. So I started to play a game with this thing, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to follow you and see how far I can get before I have to turn away to go to my friend's house. So I'm slowly driving into the reserve, and here I am, no one on the road. I'm playing this game with this thing in the sky, basically. And I get to her street, and I turned right, and there were a little bit of trees at a house. And as I'm driving into the street, I noticed that the bright object, the star or whatever, is still in the sky. So I'm happy. I'm driving. I'm just in my own little world. And I get to the front of her house, and I'm trying to line up the car to turn to park. And a movement caught me at the side of my eye, and I saw a wolf walk out from the side of her house in front of my car. So I stopped, and it stopped, and it's looking at me, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, well, interesting. What are you doing here? I didn't even know they had anything. At first, I thought it was just a big dog, but then the longer I looked at it, I'm like, holy crap, that's not a dog, that's a wolf. So it looked at me. I don't know how long I was sitting there looking at this thing, and this thing was looking at me, and then eventually it kind of stretched its head up, looked up into the sky, and then looked back down and directly at me again. And then it looked up as if it was about to howl, and then sort of bowed its head all the way down, looked up, and then walked away. I'm like, wow, okay. So I parked the car, and I got out, went into the class, and because I was a few minutes late by that point, but went into the class and just started working out, didn't think of it again. So about midway through the day, I remembered, and I said, and I sent a text over to my friend. I said, guess what? I said, I forgot to tell you that there was this wolf in front of your house. Did you see it on the camera? Did you pick up anything moving or anything? And she goes, I'll go check. So she went to check, and there is nothing on the camera. And I said, no, 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 you got to look on this. And I'm trying to tell her where to look on the camera because I know what I saw, I know what I experienced. And she's telling me, no, there isn't anything on the camera. Like, she looked and she said, there might have been a shadow, but I didn't see anything. definitive. So, anyways, she started to tell me what the meaning of the white wolf, the wolf, especially the white wolf in the native culture. And I was like, wow. I really was impressed by that. And so I told John what happened, and I told him what she said that evening, and he kind of said he used the term spirit wolf. She didn't, but he used the term spirit wolf. And at that point now, because all day it was on my mind, I am like, okay, something is happening here. You know when you get an epiphany, and that's it. It's like, okay, you can't ignore this. You know something has been coming. You can feel this is a big shift. Something's going on here. So
Yeah. By the way, that fox, that's my spirit animal. I'm a diehard coffee drinker, so it was a fox. I'm a silver fox, so that's how that goes. Okay. So.
okay,
So later,
so
so she was curious about this. So later, she asked Ezra about it. In her mind, her and Ezra having a conversation. If they appeared to her as a white wolf, and they confirmed it. This experience reaffirmed their presence in her life and reminded her that in many ways, of the many ways they've always been there, often in forms she didn't immediately recognize. So one evening, about a week after the wolf sighting, standing under a stream of water in the shower.
in the shower,
Mm-hmm.
I had a little nudge from them, if you want to call it that. And I find for me, just a little segue, I find for me that in the shower, I like to term it that the shower has wisdom, okay, and it has power. Water has power, not shower. Water has power and it has wisdom. And if you tune yourself to listening, you will hear that wisdom, and it's as you're quiet and still in the water. So I was having my shower, and usually, to be honest, that's where I have my conversations the most with Ezra, because in my head, because I find that tend to hear better, if you want to say that. So I said to them, this is troubling me because this event happened, and I feel strongly as if I should bring you guys to the forefront. So I said, if this is what you guys want from me, show me a sign. I said, I want you to show me a product that I can have for my customers that every one of them can use across the board. And if you can show me that product, whether it's tonight or another time or another day, then I will try my best to figure out a way to bring you guys forward in whatever way you guys think is the best way to do that. So, got out of the shower, towel myself off, walked to the my makeup table, and I looked in the mirror, and for some reason the mascara that I was wearing that day didn't wash all the way off. So I had the raccoon eyes, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm like, you know what? It would be nice if I can just make a cleansing cream that would take all of this off. And I was like, oh my God, you guys. And I said, did you do that? Blink the lights if you did. That's kind of what I used to say to them to get confirmation. And without fail, the lights blinked on my makeup table. And I'm like, no way, do that again. So they blinked the lights again. And I was like, oh crap. It kind of hit me like, oh crap. Now what? So
Well, then what happened after that was
is
you came and talked to me.
yes. And I came downstairs, and I said to John, I said, okay, so this happened. And I kind of explained to him what was happening. I'm like, and I want to try channeling. I thought he would. I honestly, I didn't know if he would say yes or no, but I was a little bit kind of whatever, but a little bit scared that he would say no. So, but anyways, he agreed. And we did. So I sat down and turned the lights off because I didn't want him to see me. I didn't know what I would look like or what was going to happen. So we put the living room in complete darkness, no lights on. And he had no idea what to tell me to do. We didn't know what to do with this. So I kind of figured, you know what, I'm just going to sit here. And because I meditate all the time, I figured what I'll do is use my meditation practice as a means to bring them forward. So I sat in the dark and took a few breaths, and the experience was something else. As I got myself more into a meditative state, I remember feeling the energy. It started moving from my feet, and it went all the way up from my lower back, got a little bit more, and then it sort of settled in the back of my head. And I remember thinking, okay, don't open your eyes. You're at a good spot. It felt good. That's why I said to myself, don't open your eyes. You're at a good spot. And I started to take a few more really deep breaths in my belly. And on the third breath or so, I remember trying to breathe out, and I felt the air coming up, and it sort of stuck right in this area here. And it wouldn't go any further. And so I kind of held my breath because I didn't want to force it. And then I felt something in my throat, like my throat felt weird, like really almost as if I took my finger and massaged it. And I was like, huh. But I had to let my breath out. So at that time, I decided slowly let the breath out instead of rushing it out. And as soon as I opened my mouth, I felt the energy from here, got to here, and then my jaw started sort of this tingly kind of a thing, and out they came. And they started to speak. And since I don't know really what I sounded like, John will tell you from his side what that was like.
So when Ezra came through, the uh, the sound was not Allegra. It sounded somewhat like Allegra, but the mannerisms, everything was different. It was just a weird experience for me. And you got to understand, this is the first time ever me having an encounter with Ezra, and I was
Yeah.
really skeptical. I love my wife, and I want her to be happy. So she wanted to try this. I was all there for her.
Yeah.
But this, I knew I was in the presence of something other than her. There was
Yeah.
something more in the room with us at that point.
Yeah. So, as I said, the room was in darkness. And so, because I didn't want him to see. And we had a little session. He asked them who they were and stuff like that. And they I think that point they asked if you asked them what we'd like to call them
Mhm.
or
Do,
it.
do,
We didn't know it
do
was
you
a
have a
group.
name?
Yeah, do you
Yeah.
have a name? Because
Yeah.
we didn't know it was a collective.
Hmm.
So they said a name was given. And so then I think you asked and they answered, they gave the name at
Ezra.
that point, that the
Ezra.
name was
Yeah.
already given and the name was Ezra.
Hmm.
So, anyways, going through this really quickly, I got out, we finished up, and I got out of it, and
Just
I,
as an aside, though, the first experience, the language wasn't really clear.
yeah,
She
that's
kind of it
right.
was kind of like a
That's
two-year-old
what
mumbling,
it was,
fumbling
horrible,
through the
horrible.
language. It was actually not a very clear, but the feeling was there. But the actual language was not like it was.
The
It was English, but
enunciation,
it was not. Yeah, it
it
was
was.
fairly limited to language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that first session we didn't record it, but then going forward we recorded a few of them at the early stages. And when I heard myself, I was a little bit appalled, a little bit surprised, a little bit like it didn't sound like me. Like I couldn't form my words properly. Like I'm
Hmm.
speaking to you guys now, and it's fluent. You guys can hear me. But imagine someone just learning English and just learning to talk.
Hmm.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
So they came a long way in integrating with my vocabulary and the way I speak and my tone and everything.
Hmm.
But that wasn't there at the beginning, and you guys will not hear that because
Hmm.
no. Anyways, so that night, um, when I came back to the now after I was
The
finished
forefront. Yeah.
before front without before after channeling them, I said to John, I said the interesting thing is I got this distinct impression that there were five entities around me when I was bringing them through. So he said that their name is Ezra, and at first I thought it was Ezra, and I'm like, but that doesn't make sense. There's five. I was equating to the number of entities with the name.
Hmm.
So I decided to go online and look up to see if there was another spelling for Ezra, and there was. It was Ezrah. And
Which means help or helper.
yes, it meant
Help.
Yes, help,
God is my
helper,
helper, or
God is my
strong.
helper, strong, all of that stuff.
Hmm.
And that was what their message was on that first night, that they are here to guide us, to help and guide us with our everyday dealings in any which way that they can. And they help through the asking. So basically, it was when there is an asking based on an information that needs to be received, they will respond and answer in kind. So since then, it's been really
Life changing.
life changing.
Life
Yes.
changing. Several of the sessions, because Allegra is bringing Ezra forward, I'm the asker. I've been doing all the asking to this point, so all those different recordings that we did in the beginning, we didn't videotape it. We just
Yeah.
recorded it.
Yeah.
We're not going to be sharing those because it's actually a lot of. I asked an awful lot of questions about my own personal life,
Yes. And I
and
asked him, sorry, to ask some on my behalf as well. So,
exactly. But as we start this journey here on our channel, we are going to be bringing in our own personal lives into this. We
yes.
want you to understand that this is life changing for us,
Yes.
for Allegra and for myself. I'm the one that gets to ask the questions of the entity at this point. Our hope is with this journey that we're starting tonight is that we'll be able to help others and share the infinite intelligence from Ezra with as many people as possible. So
Yeah.
this is just the beginning. We're just getting started here. We're going to be
Yes.
talking about relationships. We're going to be talking about money. We're going to be talking
Yes.
about life. Any questions you have.
Yes.
That's the kind of thing that we're hoping to connect with you.
Yes, and we've been doing this for a little bit now. So this recording is not because we just started channeling and we're just bringing it out to you guys like last week. We've got quite a few sessions under our belt with Ezra.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a small session with a group of friends as well, just for them to see and understand what it was about, because some of them didn't know, they didn't understand the concept of how we bring them forward and how they interact with us.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that so that they could understand the process. But this is really, yes, it is for us. It really is for us. We have benefited from it and we will continue to benefit. The more we bring you guys in, we benefit because from your life questions, we learn from the answers as well. But from the instruction from Ezra, yes, we benefit from it, both of us. But this really is from humanity in general, mankind, you guys out there who have been really searching. And we can't sit on this. I can't sit on this. I find for myself, even on a personal level, if John and I don't have a session between the both of us and a few days pass by, um, I feel my energy shift. And that is because I'm observing life every day. And in observing life, I have questions, and my vibration shifts based on what I decide to look upon out there. And if I don't, I can get in my head sometimes, and Ezra is there with me all the time. So they're answering my questions vibrationally. But by answering my questions vibrationally on my day to day dealings, it's not helping anyone. And so after a few days of going around myself, doing my things myself, and interacting with Ezra on my own, I start feeling as if I'm not doing them the service that I promised that I would do. So then I want to bring them forward. So hopefully with doing this, we can get you guys to interact with us more
Mm-hmm.
and interact with them and make this a thing, make this a community, make this a huge community of just helping others and bringing your insights in as well. We really want to hear what you guys have to think once you've seen them in action and the feedback, and send your questions to us as well. We'll answer them on these videos.
Yeah.
So,
So please hit the subscribe button below.
yes.
Share it with as many people as you can. And again, we were mentioning that we were going to be putting this book. Allegra and Ezra wrote this book together.
Yes.
My name's on the cover, but I actually just did the editing, so she missed a few commas and stuff. So, but it was actually Ezra and Allegra who wrote this book. It's on relationships. It's an amazing book. The first time I read through it, I think our relationship started changing. Like it was just getting better.
Well, it started changing while I was writing the book
Yeah,
because
exactly. Yeah.
it just because I had to be in the flow with them, and you can't be in a grumpy mood when you're channeling infinite intelligence. Your vibration kind of raises to match theirs,
Yeah.
and that so everything around you kind of moves within that bit of a swirl.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but we're excited.
Yeah.
This will be available as an ebook short. We'll let you guys know when it's available.
Yeah. Okay.
But again, hit
Subscribe,
the
like.
surprise like, share if you can. We
Yeah.
would love for you guys to share, and also give us comments. What do you think?
Yeah.
What you'd like to talk about? Let us know, and we'll be doing these things a few times a week. So you guys just keep coming back.
And aren't you putting those tidbits of inspiration on
Yes,
Facebook?
yes. So if you guys go to our Facebook channel,
Facebook
Ezra
page.
Dean, every day or as much as possible every day, I will be putting in Ezra inspired tidbits for the day, and that's basically we ask them to share something that they think would be insightful for anyone who comes along on the page and is looking for inspiration. It's there, so that's on there. Ezra Dean. Please like that as well, and we will connect more. We'll give more information as things come forward, going forward. Okay?
So come with us on this journey. It's going to be a phenomenal ride.
Yes. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks. Bye.